Okay, so I'm just going to be going through the review for solving. So the first one is the solutions to the quadratic are -5/4 and 3. Find the values of a and b. What you have to know for this problem is, so we have x plus a, we have x plus a and 4x plus b equals 0. So I know x plus a could be 0 or 4x plus b could be 0. Knowing that, my solutions, the -5/4 and the 3, well, I can plug those into x and that will give me 0. So that's what I need to do. I figure out where each one goes. The 3 is probably this x. We'll probably give this x 0. The -5/4 will give this one the value of 0. So I just plug 3 in. So it's going to be 3 plus a is equal to 0. I subtract 3. Okay, so my a value had to be -3. For this one, 4 times -5/4 plus some number is equal to 0. The 4's divide out to be 1. -5 plus b is equal to 0. When I add 5, my b value had to be 5 for this. So it was going to be -3 and 5. Okay, so this is just making that connection. When you are finding x, those are solutions to a quadratic. And so we're going to put in -3, comma 5. And we close our parentheses, so -3, 5. All right. Next one, it says solve the quadratic by factoring. So for this is only 2 terms. The best way to solve one of these with 2 terms is by factoring. You can do a box or whatever. I'll do a box for this one. So I'd put in my 2 terms. Since I only have 2 terms, I have 2 boxes. I only do 4 terms when I have, or 4 boxes, a square when I have 3 terms and need to split that middle one. My greatest common factor here is 3x. That leaves me with an x minus 2. So I rewrite this as 3x times x minus 2 is equal to 0. I know either 3x is equal to 0 or x minus 2 is equal to 0. Divide by 3, x is equal to 0, x is equal to 2. So there is my answer for that one. Okay, here's our more traditional factoring. I'm going to do my box here. I have 7b squared -3 and 7b squared minus 4b minus 3 is equal to 0. It's already said equal to 0. I have to look for 2 numbers. They have to add to b, my middle term, which is -4, and they have to multiply to be 7 times -3, which is -21. So 7 times -3, that's where that comes from. You can use Desmos, which I've shown before how to use Desmos. You put these into Desmos and you graph. Your other way is just to know your factors. My factors of -21, though, the first thing I think of is 7 times 3. I could have +7 and -3, but that would actually give me +4, and I'm looking for -4, so it's going to be -7 times +3 is -4. Okay, and so I'm going to put here -7b and 3b. It does not matter what you put where as far as these two go. My greatest common factor of this row is b. My greatest common factor, now this is a negative. I factor out a negative. That's going to be -1. B times 7b is 7b squared. B times 3 is 3b. So my factored form is b minus 1 times 7b plus 3, which is equal to 0. either b minus 1 is equal to 0, or 7b plus 3 is equal to 0. Add 1, b is equal to 1, minus 3, 7b is equal to negative 3, divide by 7, b is equal to negative 3/7, and just leave it as a fraction like that. So negative 3/7 and 1. And that's my answer for that one. Next one, again, we're still factoring, just because we need practice with that. This one here is x squared plus 14x is equal to negative 9x. Or 14, that should just be 14. I don't want to make that mistake. So I add 9x. X squared plus 9x plus 14 is equal to 0. First thing you always have to do is you have to set it equal to 0, x squared and 14, because you can't use zero product property. I'm trying to emphasize that in class. I know my two numbers, they add to be 9, and they multiply to be 1 times 14, which is 14. 14 doesn't have many factors, so this one isn't that bad. I know it's going to be 7x and 2x. Okay, because the other option is 14 and 1, and 14 and 1 add to be 15, so I needed 9. Greatest common factor here is x. Greatest common factor here is 7. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x, so it's going to be x plus 7 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. X plus 7 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. X could be negative 7, or x could be negative 2. And that's your answer there. Okay. This next one, 3x squared minus 22x is equal to negative 8x minus 15. First thing I do is I always set it equal to 0, and then I'm going to go through. So plus 8x, 3x squared, minus 14x is equal to negative 15. I add 15 to each side. 3x squared minus 14x plus 15 is equal to 0. And I do the same thing that I've been doing. Okay, this is going to be 3x squared. This is going to be 15. I'm looking for two numbers. They have to add to be my middle term, which is negative 14. They have to multiply to be 3 times 15, which is 45. I know one has to be negative, one has to be positive. So 3 and 15, if it was negative 3, so if I tried negative 3 and positive 15, well, that's going to give me a sum of 11. So I know that that one's not going to work. I think about other factors. My next one is maybe 5. So I do like negative 5 times 9. Well, that gives me a sum of positive. Oh, wait, they both have to be, sorry, that should have been a negative and a negative. So it's going to be negative 3 and negative 15, which is going to be negative 18, which would not be helpful. Negative 5 and negative 9 is going to give me negative 14. So this is the one that I was looking for, and I apologize for messing that up. So negative 5x, negative 9x. I go through, I find my greatest common factor here is 3x. I see the negative. I know that my greatest common factors here is going to be negative 5. 3 times x is 3x squared, or 1x if you will. 3 times 3, and this has got to be a negative 3, is going to give me negative 9. Don't need an x there, so my factored form is going to be 3x minus 5 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. I set each part equal to 0. x equals 5/3, x equals 3. I do my fancy brackets, 5/3, comma 3. Don't forget your fancy brackets. And very last one. So we have our negative 37 minus 7x is equal to negative 3x squared plus 5 plus 4x. First thing I do, as I set it equal to 0, I'm actually going to move everything over here. I'm going to add my 37. I add my 37, so this is negative 7x is equal to negative 3x squared plus 42 plus 4x. I add my 7x, I add my 7x. This is 0 is equal to negative 3x squared plus 42 plus 11x. Now, no matter, so I want to rearrange this. I want to put this in standard form, so I always put my x term in the middle, 11x plus 42. Okay, do my little block. Some of you, if you split the middle, I'll go through that. So this is going to be negative 3x squared. This is 42. And I'll do the FOIL method over here with this one. So this is, again, negative 3x squared plus 11x plus 42. And I want to know this is going to be negative 3x squared and then something, something, 42. Okay, so my purpose is still the same. I'm looking for two numbers. They have to add to be 11. They have to multiply to be 42 times 3. 42 times negative 3, which is negative 126. And you can use Desmos for a big number like this, where you find the intersection by putting those two problems in. Or you can say, okay, things that I know. I know for negative 126, I know 6 goes into it. So that's going to be 6 times negative 21. Okay, and they both have to be negative, and so that would be negative 27. Well, that's not going to work. Okay. But that also tells me that the numbers that I'm looking for, they actually have to be, I have to pick a number bigger than 6, because we're looking for two numbers, and they're, actually one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So the difference between these two is negative 15, or 15, if you will, if it had positive and negative. You're looking for two numbers, and their difference has to be 11. So I'm looking for two numbers that are closer together if you're looking for a different way. So I think, okay, well, 6 goes into it. Well, since 21 goes into 126, I know 7 also has to go into 126. Because if 7 goes into 21, and 21 goes into 26, then 7 must go into 126. So I say, okay, 7, and that's going to be times 18. Okay, so negative 7 times positive 18, and that does give me 11. But you guys can always use Desmos for that. So negative 7x, 18x, I would do the same thing here. 18x, negative 7x. Okay, greatest common factor is negative 3 and an x. Greatest common factor here is a negative 7. Negative 3 times positive 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 6 is 18, and I just do a check. Negative 7 times negative 6 is 42. So my factors are going to be negative 3x minus 7 times x minus 6 equals 0. I'm going to do the same thing with my split the middle. My greatest common factor here is negative 3. So I'm going to divide each part by negative 3 and an x. So this is going to be negative 3x. That's going to be positive x, and that's going to be minus 6. Greatest common factor here, since this is minus, I'm going to factor out a negative 7 times x minus 6. I notice they both have x minus 6. And when I factor out the x minus 6, I divide up by the x minus 6, I end up with 3x minus 7. Okay, so you end up with the same thing. Go through and solve. Either negative 3x minus 7 is equal to 0. Negative 3x is equal to 7. Divide by negative 3. X is equal to negative 7/3. Or x minus 6 is equal to 0. Add 6. Add 6. X is equal to 6. And so your answer is going to be negative 7/3 and 6. And that's about it. You do it the same way with the FOIL.